Hello again. I would like to talk to you about your doubts. If you've been doing this manifestation thing for a while, especially if you're just starting out, which is kind of what I'm focused on helping you through. This is relevant to you, and maybe some people who've been looking into this for a while. This can be something of a reminder, which I found to be incredibly useful along the journey. Because if you do have that experience, you know that you're gonna have moments where you feel high and like you're a spiritual master and you know everything, and then later on that day or the next day or over the next week, you feel like you've reverted back to that old self who was hopelessly ignorant and naive and unable to regulate themselves and trust anything. And you're like, were all those things that I was saying to myself, all that stuff I trusted, was it for nothing? And then you begin to doubt. And then you begin to worry about the fact that you're worrying because you're supposed to stay positive and high vibrational. And what are you going to do, right? So this video is to tell you to relax as much as you can. You know, I was watching another video the other day from a content creator who I've really been coming to enjoy. And, you know, she resonates with me in a lot of ways. But I was looking at one of the comments in her comment section, which is a horrible addiction that I recommend everyone cease as soon as possible. Comment sections are really good. They said that these kind of videos piss me off. This is them talking, not the content creator, but the in the comment section. And they said, you know, I have $0 in my bank account. How am I supposed to take care of myself without the basic necessities? I can't eat, I can't shower, I've got no home, you know. And there's a lot that I could have said in that moment, and I was tempted to reply. But it raised a good point. Our perceptions will make us believe that the old way of seeing things, or the way you're currently seeing things, are real. And you could say that someone else is absolutely delusional for believing in such goodness that from a certain point of view feels too good to be true. But then from another point of view, that too good to be true feels like it's too good not to be true, especially when you've been cultivating it consciously for a while. And that disparity between the high and the low can feel even more intense. And the low can feel even more unwanted, which has its benefit. But the thing about doubt, and I was talking to someone else, I was trying to help them through some of their, because they were just starting out with some of Joe Dispenza's work. And they were asking about gratitude in the moment. And they said that, you know, I'm trying to think of how do I approach this? How do I feel? Do I feel like I'm healed? Because when I feel healed, I feel so good. I feel relief. I feel like this release of tears, and I'm so happy. But is this playing into lack, needing to be healed and wanting to be healed? And the answer was something that I've learned for a while: is that the more you worry about how lacking you are, the more you play into the lack. Right? The point is to at the beginning. The point isn't to eliminate the lack belief; it's to notice it. Right? And this is why I like when people, and I always recommend people have like a meditation practice like self-inquiry or even just mindfulness, right? Because you don't really need self-inquiry, because you can still reach a depth of focus and insight without it, but I still recommend it. I mean, it helps with some of the later realizations that you can rely on, um, especially with like affirmations about how friendly the world is. Because if you see it as you, all of a sudden there's a goodwill, this spontaneous goodwill that comes out of nowhere, and it's you and it's not you, but you know, it's just there, and it's the world and everything. You know, you've had enough synchronicities to know that there's an intelligence underlying everything, and that it's the world is communicating with you. And that's a really important shift to make. And it's important to notice those moments, not just to try and, you know, like I was talking about in the last video, it's not, you're not just trying to decode them. You're acknowledging reality as it's appearing to be, even if you don't quite know what that reality is, right? You can call it whatever you want: source, God, Allah, Yahweh, demons. There is an intelligence underneath it, right? Because it's all of those things, and it's none of those things, because it's fundamentally beyond any label. any lens that it can filter through. But it does so willingly because it's exploring itself. But that's a digression, and I'm not going to get into that. So the point is, have your doubts and accept them. Forgive yourself for having them. The best way to overcome them is to see them not even as doubts, but to see the doubts as worthiness, right? When you see it as just another expression that's adding to your highest good, then you kind of feel a little bit invincible, right? Like it comes up and you're just like, great. All right. I can not only afford this, this is an expression of my wealth. And it sounds a bit counterintuitive, unless you know better. It does sound like the opposite direction from a certain point of view. Because you want to be eliminating the negative thoughts. You want to be changed. You want to be a different person so that you can have a different life. But you got to watch that reaction. The thing about lack is that it accompanies this need to change things, this need to control. And the opposite direction is surrender. And you might say, well, then what about taking action? Well, what about it? It plays into the same spirit, right? Plays into the same spirit of acceptance of things as they are. That's why you're advised to drop your expectations about the fruit of your actions, right? Because it's not even about what you're doing or how it turns out. It's about who you are that's doing it, really. Because the spirit that's animating you, you could say, your level of consciousness, who you are, who you choose to be, what you're tuning into, where you're coming from, is going to be what heals you, is going to be what attracts the wealth in the first place. It's going to be your power. And the more you try to reject yourself, the more you're seeing a problem, the more you're seeing a flaw, the more you're seeing an imperfection, a lack of wholeness. As John Butler, the non-dual teacher, says, to make whole, be whole. To fix things, be fixed, be done, be complete. Right? Yeah, easier said than done. It takes work. And you might find a spontaneous grace of wholeness just hit you out of the blue. It happens. It's fine. That's cool. Accept it. Love it. Be grateful for it. Enjoy it. You know? It's a gift. But do the work anyways. Do the work. Wake up. Meditate. Go into alpha. Reprogram. Suggest to yourself. Do the work of going into space. Be more spacious. Be less condensed into your habits and your personality, right? The more you accept your doubts, the more you forgive them. And when I say accept, I mean, and surrender, I'm not saying, oh, God, fine, whatever. You know, it's not a reluctant, God, fine, yes, whatever. It's like, it's an acceptance and a surrender that integrates not only neutrality, but optimism. And optimism. This is good. Yes. That's because, you know, the example I used the other day was, if you really love cookies and your best friend gave you a cookie, then you're not going to be like, no, I love cookies, but no. You're going to accept it. Thank you for the cookie, right? So if you can see everything that happens to you as your best friend giving you a cookie, then you don't have to surrender to it. You're naturally accepting it as it is because it's a gift. It's this joyful giving. Right? Your best friend wants you to be happy. They want to give you their wealth. And now it's your wealth. Because you're both wealthy. You have this mutual joy that you enjoy. And there's just this flow of abundance back and forth. Accept the cookie, damn it. Take the cookie. Love the cookie. You are the cookie. Your doubts are cookies. Your circumstances are cookies. Might not feel like it. It might seem absolutely fucking horrible. I get that. You know, I used to be homeless. I lived in a shelter for years. I lived in subsidized housing for years. But that's so far behind me now. I'm a different person compared to then. Because I learned how to be, right? I learned how to see the world as loving. I learned how to see situations that once really intimidated me as, well, neutral at worst. So I can just be myself. And of course there's work to do, right? I'm not a saint, obviously. But I'm just here to tell you that it's possible, you know? It's not, if you do the work every day, I can promise you that you will notice a change. But you have to show up for yourself, you know? You have to spend that time studying yourself, meditating, giving yourself space, taking your attention from the body, not being as much of you as you have been. So I hope this encourages you to stay the course, to look at your doubts differently, to look at life a bit differently. If you want to learn more about this, I would highly suggest looking into Neville Goddard's work, Joe Dispenza's work, which has been a huge help lately. It's just connected so many different dots for me. Florence Scovel Shinn, Joseph Murray, his book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. The Neville Goddard and Florence Scovel Shinn, I highly recommend you pick up their collected works in a full volume and just read through it. Just familiarize yourself with it and get the gist of it. Get the techniques, try them out, find what clicks, and then take what clicks and then, just grind at that. Just absorb it, become it. Florence had a saying. She was talking about how, before you have called upon God, before you've had a desire, all the ingredients to complete it have been given to you. And it goes to illustrate that everything you want has been taken into consideration already. And if you align yourself with abundance, then you'll see it come into your life in some way. Even if it's not what you expected, it'll be something that's close or even better, something more relevant, something more appropriate to you and wherever you're at. So surrender and enjoy your cookies.